Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be rebuilding a water pump. Now this is a P-Series Sherwood water pump specifically for the Crusader 454 engine. This is a pump that my buddy started to clean up and take apart and disassemble, but he asked me to finish it up by putting all the new parts into it. We got an engine out of a boat, and he wants to go through and basically make everything new before we put everything back in, which is smart because things aren't very easy to get to inside of a boat. Anywho, so I've got the guide here. It's going to take me through the disassembly and reassembly process. You can see he's kind of oversprayed some Crusader blue paint on the guide. So that's how you know it's legit, you know. But this is the full breakdown of how the pump is assembled and all that. And I've got instructions and numbers and words and stuff I'm supposed to follow. So this should be interesting. Let's dig into it. He'd already started a disassembly process. This is what the actual pump mechanism looks like. It's sort of like a vane pump, but it's rubber. It's got these rubber fins. He's got the new one sitting here with this kit. So it looks like this back cover comes off. There's an O-ring seal that sits inside of here. Then that comes off, and then there's probably like a keeper and a few other things. We've got it looks like a Woodruff key. I got to figure out where that goes. Looks like it goes on the shaft here because the impeller is keyed, sort of like that, I assume. So there's a few things I have to figure out, but at first I want to finish disassembling everything. And to get the shaft out of here the rest of the way, it looks like there's a clip that goes right inside that little groove right there. So I'm going to start off by getting a pair of snap ring pliers to see if I can fit them in there and get that clip the rest of the way out. Alright, unfortunately my snap ring pliers aren't going to fit in there. It doesn't give me enough space. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to use a pick and a flat tip screwdriver. Put the pick in the hole for the snap ring pliers and just kind of work it around if I can. That didn't help me at all. There it goes. There we go. Alright, this kit should have everything I need. I'm thinking this little box has that seal. And it does. That is what it looks like. So, looking at it from this angle, I don't know if you guys can see that or not. It looks like it goes in that way. There's a lip right here, so it comes out this way. And at the top, I'm not sure what this white one's for. I'm looking at the manual for that one. Yeah, so that goes in there like that. Alright. So, let's see if I can't pound that out real quick. That's easy. Okay, so my buddy that owns the pump has already done a pretty good job cleaning this up. He put it in his blast cabinet. I'm going to try to do the finishing touches by getting the rest of the screen stuff around the spouts, the in and out spout here, and see if I can't make it all look brassy. I'm not sure how well this wire brush is going to do. If this doesn't work, I can bring out something a little bit bigger maybe. Alright, I think it's as clean as it's going to get. There's still a few lightly green spots that I couldn't get to, but all in all, it's not so bad. It won't affect the pump's performance any anyway. I did take my pick and clean out the groove for the O-ring on the back seal here, and got some of that junk and debris out of there too. Also wire brush the inside where everything rides, all the bearing surfaces, make that nice and smooth. So I think I'm about ready for reassembly. The only thing I have for disassembly is the shaft with these two bearings on it. So I need to figure out some way to pull these bearings on there. I think they're pressed on. I got a couple snap ring, one snap ring I got to pull off here, which is actually the first step on the reassembly process. So once I get these off of here, I believe that's the first step. Assemble retaining ring 12, and that's that one, I believe. So we'll see. I gotta get these off here because I got two brand new bearings to put on it. So come on, I stuck into that groove. Good thing I have a new one to put on it, otherwise, because this one's gonna be junk by the time I get it out of here. There we go. There it goes. Alright, so since I don't have a traditional press, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pound the shaft through this, I don't know, pulley. And then all I'll have is a shaft from the bearing, and then I can pound the bearing off the shaft and then reassemble. This should work fine. Mushroom this. There we go. So the next thing it says to do is assemble the retaining ring, which is this snap ring here, on the shaft onto the second groove from the impeller end. This keyed end is the impeller end, so I'm going to put it on the second groove from the impeller end, which is this one here. Unfortunately, my snap ring pliers aren't tiny for this application, so I'm going to have to try to muscle it somehow. There we go. And then slide it down onto the groove. Then it says to push the first ball bearing from the pulley drive to the pump over the shaft, brand new, and we're going to push those down onto there. So I think we're going to go back to the vise for this. Hitting it in here, I've got it flush with the first pulley. Now what I need to do is pound this the rest of the way on, and to do that I've got a socket here, and I found that 16mm deep well fits perfectly onto there, and it will hit the inner race of that bearing just nicely. So I'm going to put this here, put that there, and then line that all up and see if it'll pound down without damaging the bearing. Oh yeah, it's working very nicely. Like so, and gently tap it until it seats up against the snap ring there. There we go. I found that the kit does not come with is this copper spacer that goes in between the bearings. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to reuse the old one. So hopefully you saved it and didn't toss it or destroy it so you can use it. So I'm gonna slide this on here, and then slide the next bearing in, and then we can slide this back on here, and the reassembly of the shaft will be mostly complete before we put it into the housing. Alright, now I'm basically back to where I started. Snap ring, bearing, spacer, bearing, pulley mount. Alright. Okay, now that I got the shaft halfway assembled, I'm going to go ahead and put the mechanical seal, is what they call it, back into the pump housing. The direction this goes, this flange here has to ride on a lip inside of this. So you're going to go basically from the cap side where this cap sits here, and then this is going to face outwards on the smaller side here where the shaft kind of goes through. So you're going to see basically that inside the housing. I don't have the fancy seal installer, which I probably should have, so I get by with the clever use of sockets, because I do have sockets. Should I get all the proper stuff? Yeah, probably. Will I? Probably not. So I found myself a socket that fits that almost precisely. I'm going to set that down in the housing and then just gently tap on the socket until the mechanical seal has seated against the lid. Hear that ting? That means it's seated. And it should look like that. Alright, got the snap ring back around this here. What I did is actually hit that down and expose some of the surface of the shaft, and it was easy to get that snap ring on, and then pounded it back down, so it's protruding about that much there. Now, I should be able just to slide this in here like so. And then, do I have enough for the snap ring? Which looks like I do. So now the trick is to get the snap ring into the groove without using snap ring pliers. There it goes. Yay! The next part of the reassembly is number 13 is labeled here, but they also call that the carbon face seal thing. I'm not sure. This also came in the kit, so it's not very specific, but it does say to put the ceramic with the white ceramic up against the carbon face. This is the old mechanical seal that I took out. I got the new one in there, and it says to put it in this way. And then it says to put a washer and then a snap ring around the shaft. So it says be very cautious in the instructions not to damage the ceramic white seal, and this goes down in there face down. It also says to use non-petroleum lubricant, so I'm glad I read before I just douse this thing in oil. And the only non-petroleum lubricant I have is this Jet Lube stuff here. So I'm going to put some of this on the inside of this rubber to make it easier to assemble here. Sure, why not? All right. I'll push this all the way down until it meets the mechanical seal. Okay. Okay, so I got that ceramic one face down. Now I was initially concerned I wasn't going to be able to get the washer and the snap ring on there, but that mechanical seal, it's springy. So what I realized is all I really got to do is put the washer in there and get the snap ring started around the shaft. Then I can push it down with like a socket or something until it clips in, and there's your seal. So let me give that a shot. Got the washer down there, snap ring, and push this down here. Oh, I bottomed out on the socket. Gotta be something else I can use. Hold on. I don't have anything that's gonna go over that shaft to push it down, so I'm gonna use these two flat tip screwdrivers and see if I can just. Oh, that was easy. That went perfect. Very nice. So now there's a groove inside the housing here. You can't see it partly in the camera, but there's this little tang that sticks down on this big fat washer. That goes into that groove to keep it from spinning. So it should look like that once it's all assembled. And now I can put the impeller in. Okay, now before I put the impeller in, it wants me to put this in. This is the cam. This sits in here, and then there's a screw that holds it in place there. But before I do that, it wants me to put Permatex on the back side of this, here where it rides against the back, and on the screw that retains it in there, seemingly so water doesn't escape from behind the cam and out the screw hole. So let me do that now, and then after this, we should be able to install the impeller. I've failed about 4 times trying to get this on here without letting the key fall off there. So what I've done is I've put some retaining compound in the woodruff key slot, put the key in it, and I'm going to let it sit and dry. So hopefully next time I go to pound that what is that called? The impeller. When I go to pound that back on there, it won't fall off as easy, hopefully. Alright, I've given myself a little bit better chance now. The retaining compound is holding that woodruff key much better. And then the impeller, I've kind of got a zip tie around it, kind of holding the fins down to allow me to kind of install this a little bit easier. So all I'm going to do now is kind of set this down in here, line the slot up with where the key is, get it started with my hand. And now, once that's started, I can cut the zip tie without damaging the fins, hopefully. Like that. And then slowly tap this thing down. Alright, I think it's working. Yay! It's actually working. Excellent. That worked fantastic. I still think I got to get it down flush where that plate's gonna go. So I gotta use a socket, I think. To go over it like that and make sure it's down all the way. Sort of like that. There we go. And that's seated. Got the O-ring here. With these O-rings, they come just a hair short of their grooves, which is pretty normal. So what I typically like to do, well, this might not need to do it too much for these, but I like to stretch them out just a bit without pulling too hard. That'll help it seat into that groove a lot easier. So that way it's not rolled over the edge when you go to put your plate on. And then you kind of just line the holes up for your plate, tighten her down, and that's it. So before I went to put the plate on, the instructions call for some non-silicone grease to go in here. It's supposed to aid for ease of installation, but I've put it in here also and spun this around a few times just to make sure it's not kind of bone dry when we go to use it for the first time on the boat. So it'll kind of hopefully increase the lifespan of those rubber veins. So now, O-rings there, everything's seated. I'm going to go ahead and line these holes up. Now this is not symmetrical, so you kind of have to play around with it until you find the spot, which that looks about right there, where all the holes line up. And the kit comes with new hardware too. So I'm just going to zip these down. Alright, the instructions say to torque these screws down to 30 to 42 inch-pounds, so I've got my inch-pound torque wrench set to 35 inch-pounds, and we're going to torque these down. It's completed, it's all together. Step-by-step instructions. So only thing that's left to do now is go put it over on the boat, make sure it works. So, but for now, that's it for today. If you guys like what I do on the channel, maybe, I don't know, consider subscribing, and every once in a while hit that like button. Alright, we'll see you in the next one.